What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Social Club where everyone has a voice. I'm your host, Jacob Hale, joined me by Garth.
What's going on, y'all?
Yep, happy to be here. Happy to be here. Got a lot to talk about. March Madness stuff going on. But before we begin, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like and comment down below your thoughts. Also, check us out on Instagram, The Social Clubber, where we post every single day. Although I haven't been the best at posting every single day. I've been stuck on the madness a lot. But
Not a whole lot of madness.
yeah,
But we'll get into that.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, Instagram for sure, Facebook, TikTok, X, Discord. You search our name up, I'm sure you're going to find us. But yeah, check out all of our other content, and everyone who has already checked it out and commented. We want to thank you. Thank you for all the support, and of course, keep it up and everything.
Yep.
So going with our topic, it is the Sweet 16 now. So just want to do a quick little recap on what's going on so far in March Madness, get some of your thoughts on it, and of course, do a little prediction stuff going forward. So let's address it right now. You don't think this March Madness has a whole lot of madness? You want to talk about it?
No. I think I saw something as the first time since 1993, somewhere in the 90s, where all four 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds advance to the Sweet 16. So obviously we don't have a Cinderella per se. We have Arkansas, who's a 10 seed, but obviously they're a major conference school, so it doesn't feel as much as a Cinderella team. So it's been kind of weird. I personally kind of like it. I would like to see one mid-major, whether that have been Drake or Colorado State or something like that. But I kind of like that we're about to get a lot of power matchups here in the Sweet 16, and should be good games. And I like seeing the best players out there. So while it does kind of suck not having an FAU or a St. Peter's or something like that, I think it's going to lead to some pretty fun games coming up. So not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to see good games.
Yeah.
So however they figure that out, I feel great. Because
Yeah.
the first day I was undefeated. I was
Crazy.
saying, like, listen, y'all doubted me. I put my predictions out early on what was going to happen, what I thought. Y'all doubted me, all right? So I want to point that out.
That's Mr. Jacob Chalk Hale for you guys. It finally worked for him.
Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with being a little conservative or a lot. But, yeah, it worked out. I do like Cinderella teams. I love to bet on Cinderella teams. Thankfully, I didn't this year for what happened, but I think that's really the real beauty is that you can get a plus 500, plus 700 team to win for you. But we just don't have that this year, which is fine. I mean, a lot of people like to complain, but it's just something different. There's really nothing wrong with that. It's the same thing with the college football playoffs, It's like, hey, as many games as there need to be to weed out who actually needs to be there, that's perfectly fine. I don't have an issue with that.
100%.
Yeah, well, I have to ask, so far, who do you believe has been the most disappointing team in the entire tournament?
Yeah, obviously it's hard to really say that someone was disappointing with all the top seeds winning. I think St. John's not getting to the Sweet 16 is definitely disappointing. Obviously, they kind of got screwed with their second round matchup, either going to be Coach Cal or Bill Self, arguably two of some of the top coaches of all time. So that really sucked. But the way St. John's plays, if they're not shooting at least like 40%, they're probably going to lose, which is a pretty common theme for them. I'd say another team, and I know this is extremely biased as a Mizzou fan, but that December through February Mizzou team, I'm not joking, not exaggerating. I think they were a top 5 team in the country at the time. Only team to go into Gainesville and beat them. And really the box score in that game didn't even tell the story. We dominated that game, beating Alabama at home, beating Ole Miss, a Sweet 16 team. That Mizzou team for a couple months was really strong, and you could kind of see it coming the way that they kind of played down the stretch. So I think those two, and honestly, I think Clemson was a little bit of a disappointment too. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that they were playing the ACC, which you could throw Louisville in there too. Everybody talking about Louisville being underseeded and they should be a 5 seed, how they get an 8 seed, all this stuff. And Creighton walks into essentially an away game for Creighton with it being in Kentucky and handled them very easily. So I would say, yeah, Clemson, Louisville, Mizzou, And then St. John's, obviously, they won their first round game, but them not being able to advance to Sweet 16, those are probably some of the teams that were the most disappointing.
Yeah, I came in here thinking I was going to talk about Mizzou, and I really was. But the more I thought about it, I think I'm going to have to throw this one on Kansas, actually.
Yeah.
Because, they weren't the best. Like, they didn't have the most expectations. But if you look at it as a whole, big picture, is that they were number one, a lot of people say, but at least top 5 in NIL money that they were collecting and handing out to players. They were a preseason number one, which preseason, while that doesn't matter still, if you're ranked number 1, you got to at least be top 10 or something, So they clearly hit the floor, I personally believe. Yeah. And also, again, this Arkansas team, not a lot of people were looking at that Arkansas team, especially in the SEC, of all the teams that ended up making it. People weren't expecting Arkansas to even make it this far, right?
Exactly.
So what I would say is Kansas definitely hit the floor. I think they've been by far the most disappointing. And I think they're going to run into a similar problem that North Carolina ran into, where they clearly hit the floor, but they need to acknowledge that they hit the floor and actually make some changes. And I think that's North Carolina's biggest problem, is that they hit the floor like 2-3 years ago with the similar situation. I think they were also AP number 1s, and then they didn't even make the tournament, if I remember that correctly.
Yep, 2 years ago.
Yeah, and they still were in delusion thinking that it was a fluke. Kansas needs to recognize that they need some real change if they're going to be able to compete. Maybe it's just the new NIL world that they have to get accustomed to, but whatever it is, they need to recognize that and figure that out, or else I don't see a good path for them going forward to where a situation like this is going to happen again for them.
Yeah, I think Hunter Dickinson being out of Lawrence is going to help a lot. Obviously, he's a very, very good college player. He's 2-time All-American. He's going to give you double-double almost every night. But just the way that you have to play through him when he is on your team, just Kansas didn't have enough three-point shooting this year. Obviously, they got A.J. Storr from Wisconsin, who was an all Big Ten guy last year, putting up 16 points a game, and I guess he forgot how to play basketball this year. So they had a lot of transfers that everyone expected to play up to their standards and just kind of didn't. I'm just personally happy to not have to watch Hunter Dickinson ever play a basketball game again, unless for whatever reason I'm in Taiwan and feel like seeing a basketball game. So besides that, yeah. Even Kansas, another team I didn't mention that Mizzou handled in that 3-month stretch too. So. Yep. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. So who would you say has been the most impressive team you've seen so far? And I'm going to say you can't say a number 1 seed. I feel like that's too easy.
Yeah, and obviously Arkansas being the lowest seed left, and honestly a month ago probably weren't even in the tournament. So that's an easy answer, saying they've been the most impressive. But for me, I know I can't say any 1 seeds. Arizona's actually impressed me a lot. I was riding the Akron high, as was Hale. I actually thought that Akron had a decent chance to knock off Arizona in the first round. But I definitely didn't think if Arizona moved past Akron, they were going to beat Oregon. Something with Caleb Love, once it comes to tourney time, he remembers how to play basketball. I mean, he's been known to be a very up and down player. He'll give you 30 one night, and then he'll go 3 for 20 the next night. So I think Arizona is probably the team that surprised me the most. They're playing really well. Even I don't know when you guys will be watching this, but even last night against Oregon, they were pretty much up 7 or 8 points the whole game, and then Oregon scared them late towards the end of the game, and they closed out a game as perfect as I've ever seen a team, knocking down their last 8 free throws, not turning the ball over really, just kind of handling Oregon when they were trying to push back. So I'd say Arizona's probably the most impressive right now.
I'm just so confused because you said last night when they beat Oregon, and this is Monday.
Yeah.
You know we're not going to get this out on Monday for sure.
No, I know.
You know for sure we're not.
I know. That's why I said whenever you guys are watching.
Yeah, we're definitely not getting it out today.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. That's actually a really good take. I agree with that. I was leaning that way too. I think another team that really surprised me that I feel really good about is actually Michigan. Because I mean, I didn't watch too much college basketball to be honest, but more importantly, no one talked about Michigan at
Yeah.
all. I think they really just stepped it up, and honestly, even with my predictions, I'm like, hey, that 5 to 12 slot, I like to pick 12 seeds if I feel like a good placement on them. Now I picked Colorado State, which was a good call, but Michigan, I was thinking about that too. I was like, oh, I don't know if they'll even make it out the first game, but they made it out of that, and then against Texas A&M, they handled them for sure. So
Yeah.
seeing them go up against Auburn, there's a question I'm gonna ask you about that, but it's going to be a good game for
Yeah.
sure. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be probably a real test for Auburn
Oh,
if
yeah.
they can make it out of there. But that'll actually lead me to my question: is that out of all the number one seeds, who you think is in the worst position? Which number one seed do you think has a good chance of getting knocked out before the Final Four?
I do think that Auburn has looked a little off. Obviously, they're relying a lot on Janai Broome, Chad Baker Mazzaro, going into his 30th year in college basketball. Um, I, I honestly think it's Duke. And not because I think Duke is the worst one seed of the four, but with Malik Brown out, I don't see a way they can win the national championship without him. Obviously, Flag's healthy, but he did have that ankle injury in the ACC tournament. But the real reason for that is I think that whoever wins between Alabama and BYU, both those teams can put up 100 every single night. So I think if either of those teams catch fire, I think Duke's in real trouble. I think Florida's fine. So yeah, I think my answer is probably going to be Duke.
Okay. No, I like that. Yeah, I came in as a Duke hater, as many of you guys know, and I'm going to keep that going. But I will say, Duke. I mean, Duke has done everything they're supposed to do at this
Yeah.
point. I don't think anyone really had them losing before the Sweet 16. So
Nah.
going into now, this is really the real test. So I lean Duke in that way. Also, I don't feel too confident about this Houston team either. Just watching them play. The only thing is, and your point is that I don't know who's gonna beat them though in that
Yeah.
bracket. Like maybe Tennessee,
Yeah.
but I think that's really it that I
Yeah.
feel. So that I think Houston's probably the weakest number one seed out of the four, in my opinion. However, I think Duke is going to have the hardest path to actually make it out of that bracket.
Yeah. The only thing I would say to that is that Houston has the best defense of the 4-1 seeds, and obviously that is something where it's not like, oh, you're not hitting threes or you're turning the ball over. Defense travels anywhere. Defense translates to the tournament. Yeah. Kelvin Sampson's the top 3 coach in college basketball, I would say. So I actually think Houston's probably in the best spot. A lot of that has to do with their path as well, but I just love this Houston team. It's the same thing every year, though. That auto bid to Sweet 16, 50% of the time they'll win to get to Elite Eight, and then from there it's a crapshoot. But
Yeah.
they're very sound. LJ Cryer's one of my favorite players to watch in the country. So
Yeah. So my last question for you is that who do you think has been the best player so far in the tournament? Who's your MVP right now?
my MVP right now, I mean, it has to be Walter Clayton Jr. What he did to close out that game against UConn the other day was unreal. He was just pulling shit. Excuse my French, but I think this is his coming out moment. Obviously, if you watch and pay attention to college basketball, you already know about him. But for some people that are kind of just March Madness watchers, this is probably one of the first times you've watched him. He's unreal, commands the floor. In Florida, it runs like 12 people deep in games, and honestly, I think that hurts them a lot. But he's always out there, commands the floor, can make any shot on the floor. He honestly reminds me a lot of Damian Lillard, and I think that's kind of his comp for the NBA too. So I'd say he's got to be the MVP right now. Obviously, Janai Broome and Cooper Flagg are the 2 candidates for the Wooden Award. So I mean, you can kind of say them as well. But yeah, I'd have to go Walter Clayton Jr.
Yeah, I mean, all three of those options, I feel like it's too easy of an answer. So
Yeah.
let's just say we all agree on that.
Yeah.
If I want to just throw someone out there just to have a little bit of fun, again, you already mentioned him before, but Caleb Love.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy it. And maybe I'm just a Caleb Love fan at this point.
Yeah.
He made the smart decision. He left,
Hey,
But
and he gets to see his best friends from Duke again this weekend. So I think that's awesome that he gets to play them again. And obviously played Duke in a Final Four already and played him 2 times a year while he was at North Carolina. So, yeah, Caleb Love showing out for St. Louis.
Yep.
Even though he should have been in black and gold, but
well, a lot of people should have been. But yeah, I'll say that Caleb Love MVP if he keeps it up.
Oh,
Keep
yeah.
going. I love it.
100%. I think another guy too is Danny Wolf for Michigan. Honestly, a big reason that they are where they are right now. I mean, 7 feet and can shoot the three. Coming over from Yale, he's another guy where if Michigan can somehow get this done, then he could be the MVP of the tournament as well. So
Yeah, so I guess whoever wins.
yep.
We'll see what happens. But other than that, we appreciate you guys. You had Duke winning it all. I had Michigan State. Yeah, I mean, we got to live with it. So we'll see what happens. But, you guys let us know what are your thoughts. Who's been the most impressive? Who's been the least impressive? And for the real ball knowers, please tell me who personally is your MVP. Even if they lose, just in general, who's had the best performance so far? Who do you really like? And then we'll go from there. We're probably going to talk about who's going to the draft, lottery picks, and all that stuff pretty soon. So
Yep.
you guys can stay tuned for that. But other than that, subscribe, like the channel, all the other good stuff. Search our name on Google. You're going to find something. Other than that, you have anything else to say?
Nope. I'm excited to see these matchups. Typically, you don't get best on best in every freaking region, so it should be fun.
Yep, so much fun. Well, other than that, guys, we appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one.